I've been working no-till since '78. I got quite familiar with the system. Found out it wasn't the equipment, it was the agronomy. Found out it was the soils. Found out it's the soil health. They worked for about the last 15 years. When Graham talked to me, I says, I got to talk on what cover crops can do for you. Not to tell you what to do, but tell you what to think about before you decide what to do. Then I saw in the program it says cover crops to mitigate tillage or something. I gave some of that this morning in my talk, but I'll give some of that again now. When we start thinking about cover crops, one of the first things you got to think about is what are you trying to accomplish? I had the opportunity to go down to Brazil for 18 days. Wonderful down there, traveling around. Almost every acre there is cover crops. That was to mitigate what they'd done with tillage. They had a lot of rainfall, they did a lot of intensive tillage, they had huge runoff and erosion events, huge problems everywhere. They put up cover crops to protect that soil. And after they started doing that, they found out they were building the soil. They put the whole carbon on the system. And so we started thinking about what we're doing. Erosion protection, erosion reduction. The hills of northeast Nebraska, this is about a 15% slope. Had several right cover crop there sprayed out before I planted the corn. This is the concentrated flow area down that hillside after a 5-inch rain that occurred overnight. Very little soil movement. We've got a lot of conservation dollars going through our natural resource districts or through CSP or DEEP programs to cover CS to get covers on the ground for erosion control. You guys are a lot flatter here. Soil health would be one of your main emphasis. When it comes to soil health, again from my friend of mine, Ralph Dirks down in Paraguay, this is what long-term no-till soil looks like. I always looked at this and I said, oh, I wish we had soil like that. Last time I was at this meeting a few years ago, Dave Brent was my chauffeur. I had an opportunity to go out in his field here in the first week of March, dug up some soil. Long-term no-till with covers, it looks like that. It comes off the tiles, fade like shell corn almost. Again, good soil beds and aggregates, what we can do. And again, from Ralph Dirks, he says this is what no-till looks like after planting. A lot of people say, well, I can't get all that residue. If you don't have biological activity, yes, that can be daunting. See that tree in the background that's circled? That's the same tree. A few weeks later, I looked at that, the beans look nice, but where's the residue going? Soil biology is digesting. And that's what you want to do, is digest that residue while the next crop is growing. And that's what soil health will do. That's what cover crops will do for you to get them going. Now, a lot of people look at cover crops and planting green.
No more square.
That residue will be digested later, though. When that's the cash crop that's growing, it's going to need carbon dioxide come up into the canopy, makes it more water efficient. So again, we think about digesting residue when the next crop is growing. Now, I got back to Nebraska and I told one of our extension educators about it. This is about 10 years ago. We are in a field that had been massively tilled for years. It was on a seed corn farm. The company that sells seed corn, not a big company. But this is where the plot area was, where they did tillage. Every time there's a flush of weeds, they had these plots here and tilled on around them again. And then they gave us the entire area for us to do some demonstrations for a 4-year grant they gave us. There was next to no soil structure there. I went out there and used a deep ripper to get rid of their disc pad, because like I said, they'd been tilling it every time it had weeds on it. As soon as I got done doing that, planted the cereal rye cover crop, simple cereal rye. Get a fibrous root in there. A lot of people think about a taproot. A taproot I use with steel. I use a fibrous root to build soil structure. Well, here was corn that had been tilled, did this cover, then it did corn, no tilling to that. Another cover. No till corn to that. Another cover. This is the 4th year planting into that 4th cover. When we look at biology in the field, we actually had 6 turns of biology with 3 sets of covers in there. This is irrigated corn on corn, and irrigation corn on corn with no soil biology, you get a lot of residue starting to build up. Our extension educators looking there wondering, is it going to work? See, I had to hang some extra weights that little pine, it wasn't heavy enough. This is Dale Flowerdale, one of our noted agronomists in Nebraska, standing there wondering, where's all that rye residue? Where's the irrigated corn on corn residue? It was amazing how just in 3 short years, 3 covers, we stepped up the biology that much. We had the irrigation, so we had the water, we had the soil biology of 2 carbon crops. We could buy nitrogen. We did put on plenty of nitrogen as well. Supply the carbon. So again, we got to think about what we're doing with the covers. And I get the call all the time, I'm going to plant a cover crop, what do I do? And they go, why are you going to plant a cover crop? If their answer is because I get paid good, they haven't thought about it. You should do it, like Rodney says, because it pays you to do it. Top list for Nebraska, we got erosion control out there. You guys have something else up there, and like I say, I can spend a whole hour discussing that list, what you want to plant. But when it comes down to it, you need to know what you want to accomplish before you can eat something. Right? I put grazing down on the list. We got a lot of guys who want to graze their covers. To me, it's a forage crop if you're going to graze it. You're going to do a higher seeding rate, get more plants out there, there's a fertilizer out there, get more growth out there, they're expected to use more water, get more growth. You guys have more water, we the rest may or may not. And so again, for me, grazing is the low on the list. But there's other reasons in between there. There's a lot of reasons why we hear about it. That's what you've been hearing about in this conference. Again, what's not on the list? Wildlife buffer. This is something if you're not familiar with it. This is on research from. We've got a researcher there. He's got plots there. He's got 4 acres of plots and 6 reps. He's got grass around each rep. So he's got easy access to his plots. No edge rows, anything. See the trees in the background. Creek down there, a lot of deer live down there. They come up across the field, and they get up to that corn, they can stand there, and they can see any predator coming and start munching on the corn. They were spending $10,000 a year, roughly, backpack sprayer, capsaicin pepper spray, spraying the odor effect of the corn once a week, just to make it bitter enough the deer would not eat it. Every time it rained, they had to spray it again. I told them to plant one 15-foot pass of sun hemp. You know why? I said, it's like candy to the deer. They come up out of there, eat that, and they quit going toward the corn. I did it again the second year. The third year, I asked them if I should plant sun hemp for them. They said, no, man, I had deer damage for a couple of years. Sun hemp grows straight up until the deer munches it off. Then it branches from each auxiliary bud down below. Then it branches and that gets bit off. I got something that look like trees. That's sun hemp, excellent deer crop. How does that go on the spreadsheet when you take it to the banker? Some land out of production. Boy, I protected my crop, saved them $10,000 a year in labor and everything else. Sun hemp, here's a little 30-foot strip of it. Caught snow. It's an upright, high carbon that hangs around a long time. It's a lagoon, fixes nitrogen as well. Now, the rest of the snow is gone. That still had snow in it. This is a picture taken in March a couple of years ago. Here's one at Green Cover Seeds, a cover crop seed vendor in Nebraska. That's sun hemp next to flax. Again, another high-living one that hang around a long time. This is on their fall field day that was planted in wheat stubble. So this is after frost killed it. I went back the next spring to see how well it held up over the winter. Here, planted with corn. The strip is still there. Again, it's a hemp, it's a rope. If you run a residue mover up front, it'll wrap tight. You gotta use some cutting torch to get it out of those wheels. You take them off, it works fine. But again, some different things I've observed in Nebraska, and some things I haven't heard mentioned too much here is what I'll share it with you. But again, if you don't know what you want to do, how can you select it? And once you select it, can you grow it? You know, the sun hemp. To get the growth we showed there, you plant after wheat harvest. After corn or bean harvest, it's way too late. It's the warm season lagoon. Can you manage it? Can you get it terminated? And Rodney gave some excellent examples on how you terminate things. Will it affect the next crop? Sun hemp, no problem. What if I had some wheat? You hold a load of wheat to the elevator. It had fusarium head scat in it. They rejected it. He's sitting there next to you and said, wheat, cool season grass, cover crop in front of my soybeans next year. I'll plant it. I'll be 50 cents on a dollar. That's a cheap cover crop seed for you. You bought some, you're going to buy corn into it. Fusarium head scat and fusarium stalk crop and corn. Oops. Again, will affect the next crop. Another one, sunflowers. Head mold on sunflowers, white mold on soybeans. Don't put sunflowers in something you're going to plant soybeans next year. You got to know some of these interactions. It gets a little more complex when you start looking at some of these mixes when you're throwing in a dozen things. What will the seed cost? To me, the cheapest seed is leftover seed in the seed shed. After wheat harvest, that's where all my leftover corn, milo, and soybean seed goes into the drill. Because after wheat harvest, they're going to frost off anyway. It's a cheap cover crop. Or it can be almost anything. And like Rodney says, it doesn't have to be full rate. You go to reduced cost and rates. Will it help the soil system? That's what I'm after as well. Grasses, grow your residue. Legumes, fix nitrogen. The key though is make sure you have the right inoculant for the legume you're growing. Just because you've been raising soybeans for years and you don't worry about you're not going to get your soybean seed, doesn't mean it's the right grade or rhizobia to do peas or vetch or alfalfa or whatever your cover is. Make sure you got the right knockout. Others, brassica, I'm sorry. A lot of people talk about the roots, getting rid of compaction. It is a good taproot to do that. Nebraska's might be oversold a little bit for that. I look at it more for resin cycle. They are really efficient at taking up residual nutrients so they don't get lost to be bleaching or to out the drainage tile. Grow it up in biological form and keep it. The others, that's going to be the biodiversity. It's going to be the pollinators. It's going to be my flax-like plants, the sunflowers, safflowers, the blooming plants. To get some flowers out there. Again, CSP, bonus points to do pollinators. Cool season versus warm season, simple says, whatever your cash crop is, you do the opposite for the cover crop. Grass versus broadleaf. If I'm early in the no-till system, I got too much residue there, we'll go to broadleaves to get more nitrogen out there to break the residue down. For me, I don't do a lot of broadleaves or a lot of legumes because I need more carbon. My digestion, my soil system is taking care of it for me. Cocktails, mix them together, get all the benefits. I do a lot of different things. Key places. If you've got low residue out there, grow some residue. If you've got early harvest, we had corn silage mentioned in the previous presentation. If I've got wheat, remember harvest, seed corn harvest, I got more growing time to do cover crops. You got to keep in mind your growing time too on what are you selecting. For instance, heard about radishes and oats. For me, for radishes after corn and bean harvest, I'm north of Interstate 80. My corn and bean harvest comes off so late that radishes would be a waste of time. It's Interstate 70 and south, it's a no-brainer. It depends where you're at, how much growing time you get. Most of our covers we grow, we tend to look at a minimum of 30 days before 60 days of growth to do much good. And so again, what are you going to select? Cover crops on soils that receive more than you can store. That's a lot of your soil. So there's water going out the drainage tile, why not grow it into something? For me, it might be a sandy soil. You do sands. Sand might only hold, in the top foot of soil might only hold 1 inch of available water. 4 foot good soil holds only 4 inches of water. If harvest on that sandy soil, which I'll plant in my next crop next spring is more than 4 inches, your soil moisture should be lost to deep bleaching because the sand can't hold it. You get yield responses on our sands more often simply because we get protected. Again, we look at different crops. You know, no longer corn, soybeans. The one that we've been missing a long time has been a cool season broadleaf. We've got a lot of guys in Nebraska now that do peas. 4-H peas for livestock or food grade peas for an extra price bonus. We've got feed buyers now set up. And if you get a split, they're even worth a lot more. When you start selling peas at $25 a bushel, you don't raise soybeans anymore, they yield about the same. They come off a lot sooner, so you get time to put in cover crops. But again, when it comes to crop type, that's a cool season broadleaf, wheat's a cool season grass, soybeans and corn, warm season broadleaf grass. Look for different crop types when it comes to getting your soil in better condition. As you're doing that, maybe you can't grow one of those as a crop, grow it as the cover. Again, the cool season oats and rye. Rye we talked about others. We're looking at cool season in a warm season mix, so think about that. Livestock gives you some options. Those options are much bigger when you got an early harvest like peas or wheat or something like that because you got time to grow the cover. But again, to me, that's different. That is a forage crop or a grazing crop. I'm going to spend a little bit more money on it because I'm going to get more money back. If I don't have the livestock, it's like I showed this morning, it's cover there to grow some carbon, go ahead and climb down through. We can do that. Again, planting in Nebraska, I like the crestbuster drill because it leaves a lot of the residue standing. About 200, 210 bushel corn as you did from harvest out there seeing Austrian winter peas as a cover crop. I'll plant them a little bit later. I plant them deep. March 15th on a warm spring, that's what the Austrian winter peas look like. April 15th, they're up knee-high blooming, fixing a lot of in. I was really excited. April 17th, we had an Easter frost that killed every one of them. That's all right, I was going to spray them out on corn anyway. They fixed like 100 pounds in. I thought that was great. On a cool spring, they don't grow much. How much in will they fix? I don't know. In the fall, I do a lot of mixes in my corn and bean residue, looking at cool season broadleaf and grass, also winter peas and cereal rye. It's too late for me to put in radishes or something like that, so I'm going to keep it simple. In the fall, it looks like this. They get up. In the spring, you go out there, the rye is just breaking dormancy, the peas are frosted off and say, darn, they didn't survive the winter. If you fly them on, if you drop them in from a high boy, I guarantee you will not survive the winter. Unlike a soybean, they need to seed the ground, and every node that's below the soil surface sets up a new branch. That's my hand. The seed was down below. I planted them about 4 inches deep, and you can see there's 3 branches coming off that. The most I found was 5. That was the one you just saw earlier that looked frosted off. Now a low seeding rate gives me 5 plants coming up. The roots are there. At that size, in the middle of April, this was a cool spring. When the previous spring I had this tall in the middle of April. Still had that many nodules on there. It's doing something for me. It's feeding soil biology. Is it fixing a lot of N? Maybe, maybe not. I don't reduce my N rates because I'm building soil. I'm actually increasing N rates because I'm increasing yields. After wheat, plenty of time for cover crops. We plant all of our wheat acres to cover crops. That's already seeded. Again, my customers for drill leaves all the residue standing. I like a 14-way mix. People say 14-way. Yeah, I'll put in like 2 cool season grasses, 2 warm season grasses, 2 cool season broadleaves, 2 warm season broadleaves, 2 grasses, 2 flowering plants, and then whatever leftover seed I got left in the seed shed. So that's 2, multiply that, that's 14 different things. Now, my warm season grasses in the heat of the summer take off growing right away, the warm season broadleaves take off growing right away, and hold the cool season back. Then when the first frost hits, they stop growing, the cool season take over. And I select things that all winter kill, because I'm in a 27-inch rainfall area. Next spring, when I come in and plant, it's relatively easy and clean to plant into that. But I had the diversity there. I had different things growing at different times. I had different things using water at different times. And again, when it all winter kills, next spring, all my precip saved for my cash crop. Playing with research then, that's what the 14-way mix looks like. You can see some flowers in there, you can see some grass, you can see some broadleaves. The big leafed one in front here, oops. Oh, don't hit that one. The big leaf one in front there, okra. It has a stem that will last a long time in the spring, and planted after wheat harvest, you can pick okra in the fall. But again, just different things out there for different purposes. I played with legume mixes. This is a 6-way legume, 3 cool season, 3 warm season. I got some common veg there because that winter kills for us. I don't use hairy veg there because I don't have to worry about spraying out in the spring. I'm using hairy winter kills. And look, something like that coming up. It's not much of a stand. That can fix a lot of nitrogen because there's living roots there feeding the soil system. Grass mix. I got refrigerator magnets throw over the inlets of the drills. Take my 7.5-inch drill, convert it to 15. I was too lazy to try to do all the sprockets to get a reduced rate for seeding. That's German foxtail millet, some VOR flip corn, and some leftover sorghum seed. And looks like that growing. 15-inch rows. Again, my drill left all the residue standing to catch snow over the winter after this frost kills. But I've grown a bunch more carbon there. Now you look at that and you say, that stuff looks a little wrinkled and dry there. That was in 2012, the drought year. Wheat harvest already took a yield hit some because of the drought. I seeded the cover that day. The cover grew with what moisture's there. And a lot of people say there's not enough moisture. The most moisture you have is the day the combine leaves the field. Because when the crop matured, it quit using moisture. All the moisture from maturity until harvest is sitting right there. You plant that day. If you wait 2 weeks, that moisture dries out, you plant the cover, and you won't have a cover. If you're old enough, or your grandpa may tell you, when did they plow wheat stubble? When you still had wheat in the rotation. They plowed it the day the combine left the field. What if they waited a month to plow it? It was so dry they turned to big boulders and rocks. The same thing's true with the covers. The day the combine leaves the field, put the seed in the ground, even in a drought year, I'm growing the cover. My cheapest cover. Bin-run soybeans, bin-run milo. This is the project started in 2005 before everybody's talking cocktails. Milo is a carbon, soybeans is a nitrogen. I'm doing carbon, nitrogen, and no cover in the wheat stubble. And after I'm corn to that, after corn harvest, I already showed you cereal rye and mustard winter beans, carbon versus nitrogen, in the same strips. After soybean harvest, I plant wheat immediately. So a base rotation corn, bean, wheat is 2 carbons, 1 nitrogen. Or I'm adding 2 more carbons, cereal rye and grain sorghum, or 2 more nitrogens, soybeans and mustard winter beans. And just to see what it does for soil health. It does enough differences that on a PLFA test, which gives you your soil biology, Jill Clark could tell them apart. She named 7 of the 9 right, just looking at the soil test. As far as the crop growing, I don't know. Say 2005, this been going ever since. I like those two because they frost kill. The beans are actually leftover bean seed for me. The milo is big run grain sorghum. Big run grain sorghum depends upon the year, sells for $3 to $5 a bushel. You seed it at the rate of 5 to 10 pounds per acre. Do the math. It's 35 cents an acre for my cover crop seed. Grows some carbon. Cereal rye, cool spring, not much growth there. I showed this slide this morning. That's without cover on the right side, with cover on the left side. I fed the soil biology and digested residue. That is no-till corn soybean wheat rotation for more than 20 years, on the right. I stepped the biology up and thrown in the covers. On the beans, I let it grow a little longer to get more carbon biomass produced. Actually, check with the crop insurance. RMA in Nebraska will not let me do this. We cannot plant green, unless you're a no-tiller, continuous no-tiller, you can plant green, but you got to spray it out within 7 days. You can't wait for your first shot of Roundup like I do. This increases my bean yield for me, because it gives me more carbon biomass there, keeps the sun and wind off those beans. Stunts them a little early, that means there's less vegetative factor to keep cool and hydrated in the heat of the summer. More moisture goes to the pod fill. That's what yields for me. In fact, my long-term tillage plots talked about this morning. In 2007, I took out 2 of the treatments. I had no-till with cultivation, I had single disc treatment. I changed those to double disc with covers and no-till with covers. Because then I had covers with and without tillage. For comparison, a lot of that cereal rye I kill about this growth stage. I'm not raising a lot of biomass, I'm just feeding the soil. And again, a warm spring I'll get that much back up. On a cool spring, I only get that much. How do you know what next spring is going to be like? I don't know. Remember, I had early planting dates. I only planted by May 1, so I terminated early. But again, here's the full chisel on the right, no-till with covers on the left. Soil biology digesting my residue better than tillage does. Heard about some aerial seeding, things like that. I just showed a couple of Nebraska pictures. We got an NRD in Nebraska, Natural Resources District, that pays the aerial seeding because of erosion control. The slopes are like that. On irrigated corn, no-brainer. Get it out there, rain gets it up. For you guys in rainfall, could be a no-brainer. You should have rain to get it up. I say should. On dry land, this is dry land, sandy field. Flew it on, nice stand there. That extra residue in the sand kept the sand cooler next year, kept the sun and wind off of it. And this farmer ran strips, and it's worth about 23 bushel per acre more corn where he had the cover. Paid for that seed real fast. Well, NRD already paid for it. This one did get the rain. It got snow before it got much cover up there. And again, with aerial application, I toss a coin, like Rodney says. Some years it works great, some years it doesn't. I'd rather put the seed in the ground itself. Running higher in airplane, this guy just took a high clearance spreader out there when the leaves are just starting to yellow. Get the seed in the ground, but the leaves mulch it so it grows. You go earlier than that, you don't get the sunlight. You go later than that, you get too many seeds on top of the leaves themselves. For corn, aerial or like this doesn't work if you don't get enough to the soil surface. That's why you guys are building drops. I hadn't built one yet to play with it yet. Now, the NRD with the airplane. The airplane sounds good, except they have to go back to the airport to refill. This NRD had 40 acres per producer. They were doing a mix that was at 1 ton total to do the 40 acres. They were doing 50 pounds per acre. They had a lot of stuff in their mix. They started Monday morning taking a flatbed trailer with all these totes and put them around all these different fields. Tuesday morning, they finished putting them out on all the fields. Helicopter shows up at Tuesday noon. Never had to go back to the airport. In fact, he never landed. He hovered, put the seeder down, they dumped the seed in. He was back in the field in just a few, not even a minute or two. He did 1,300 acres in one afternoon. I can like that. And again, get together with some neighbors who would consider something like this. That's what they did. Their stands, depends what they had in the mix. Some years it looked good, other years it didn't. They're still doing it, though. They've been doing it over 10 years because of the erosion control potential. They're using public money to control erosion. Farmers are benefiting from better soils. So again, we're going to see that from some of our general key public. Seed corn production in Nebraska. That's the one place we will do standing corn. He's lowered the spreader there to refill it. Normally runs up above the female inbreds. Behind the wheel there, just barely hiding, let's point it downward, there's a rolling stock chopper there. It's called a male row destroyer. As they're knocking out the male row, because they don't want it anymore, it uses water and takes away from the female, they're actually seeding the cover crop. As that corn's near maturity, the cover is coming on. When the corn is harvested, the cover's there. They throw a lot of Nebraskas in there because the Nebraskas help dissolve the corn residue to get rid of any potential pathogens on those weak inbreds. Also, they do that for leafy material because they graze it and pick up any down yields. Grazing is a little different purpose. But the main thing is hybrid seed corn production is over-fertilized and over-watered because it's such a high-value crop. Until they started putting these covers in to catch all that, we had a lot of nitrate moved to the groundwater with the fall precip because the soil profile was already full. Now, if you had drainage tile, we go out drainage tile, put it in a biological form, keep it for next year's crop. We got some guys doing fall fertilizer, seed and cover at the same time. Now, this guy is actually set up. He wanted the air seeder. The big tractor to pull it so he could do a few acres of narrow row beans. He said, that can't justify it. When he found out he could put out anhydrous with it, that was his fertilizer applicator for all his corn. That was his cover crop seeder for all his acres. That was doing custom work as well. Tanks there for ammonium sulfate, 1034O, complete fertilizer package and cover crop package, or throwing wheat seed wheat, leave the covers out. Again, start thinking about flexibility. Go to southwest Nebraska. A lot of guys are spread 1152 over fall. They got seed mixed in with it. I'm sorry, southwest Iowa. They get more rainfall. Go to southwest Nebraska. You won't have enough rainfall to get that up. It'd be a wasted trip as far as the cover is concerned. The cereal rye surface spread like that with the fertilizer because you're making a trip anyway. It's a no-brainer for them. So again, think of some other options. Livestock manure. We see some states like Pennsylvania and Michigan really doing a lot of work incorporating slurry manure. We don't have much slurry manure, not that way. We got a lot of beef manure. But you know what? That spreads out in big chunks out in the field. You can't spread cover crop seed with that. But what a lot of guys are doing, they're out there just sitting the curl on it or something, seeding the cover, using the drill to smooth that out. And they're doing that to grow something biologically. And actually, the Marlborough Peninsula out near Washington, D.C., they're doing a lot of work like this to stabilize the nutrients in the manure such that it doesn't wash off into the ocean. And so again, think about growing your nutrients into a biological form rather than just leave them laying there. This guy was just 35 tons of feedlot manure, a little bit of radish, a little bit of rapeseed, a little bit of soybeans and smokes. Get some growth. This morning I talked about never leave the soil dead. Grow something on prevented planting or hail out or flood it out. And again, this morning I said there's a big yield benefits there, just feeding the soil system. I saw that, I said, I'm going to try it. I went to live soil. I planted oats in the spring. Corn just got planted. You can see where the corn planter marks are. I got 15-foot wide strips there. Guess what? Cool season grass taken off. We use nitrogen before the warm season grass can get to it. Oops. Same thing, if you got a high carbon cover crop, it can use the nitrogen faster than your cash crop can get to it. You might need more starter nitrogen next to that crop. The nitrogen management thing is something you got to look at as well. This is, there's 3 plots here, one right up front, one way back, and one off the back corner. One is wheat, one's triticale, one's cereal rye. Went out there and we planted on these little demonstration plots. The first 10 feet, they're all soybean raising. The first 10 feet, we didn't see any cover. Then we planted the next 40. The next 10, we sprayed out a month before planting corn, 2 weeks before planting corn, the day of planting corn, and that's why you see the stair-step of growth there. And the last 10 feet, we took the residue off the day we planted the corn. Now, a lot of people say cereal rye is allelopathic to germinated corn. Now, the research is showing that the cereal rye nitrogen high up because the high carbon cover is holding the corn back. If you look real close next to the corn row, about 4 inches inside, there's a little cleaver mark there. We got a starter attachment. We put down 50 pounds of starter next to the corn row, and regardless of where you're at there, the corn looks fine. Well, in person, the picture doesn't do it justice. So again, nitrogen management is important when it comes to the high carbon cover crops. I spray a lot of covers out early. Living room is there in the off season. I'm not trying to produce a bunch of carbon biomass. Again, we got tillage. Tillage will offset the advantage of the cover. We got some guys, especially organic producers, grow covers, then they till them in. Well, when they do that, they destroy some of the soil biology, so they don't like to do tillage, I'd rather just spray them out, or perhaps roll them out. If they're in vegetative state, maybe not. If they're in reproductive state, roller works fine. Single species, it works fine. Multiple species mixed, are they all in roller stage at the same time? The odds are they aren't. But again, Roundup is too. Roller on the front, planter in the back. Weed control. From my friend Ralph Dirch down in South America, that's black oats rolled down, no herbicide in that field. That's great weed control. Yeah, I get excited about that. Here is 20 pounds per acre, 40 pounds per acre of barley. Barley's a nice salt tolerant crop. You've got some lean seeds, a good cover crop. Look between the two drill passes. Mare's tail, 20 pound rate, you see 1 or 2, but 40 pound rate, you don't see 8. We have guys getting rid of mare's tail, other winter annual weeds simply because they're growing cover. Remember, if you don't have something there, Mother Nature will put something there. Here's cover crop plots. They plug one hole through the drill. Every pass they make, they got a comparison of how well does that cover suppress the weeds. That's common oats. Look at the one row that's missing. How many weeds would have been there? Remember my plots? 2016, I got a new bonus. That grain sorghum versus the soybeans. Went out there, middle of April, time to put down early pre-plant herbicide. Which one had the volunteer weed? The one without cover. I could have saved one herbicide application right there. Just because the cover suppressed the volunteer weed. That was a winter-killed cover. It wasn't even grown in the spring. End of May, time to make a post-emerge decision. Grain sorghum on the right, no cover on the left. I could have saved a second trip, the post-emerge, because the cover was there. And again, when people are concerned, how much yield did it hurt you? It saved you 2 trips to the sprayer for 35 cents a worth an acre of seed. That's hard to beat. Near maturity, corn looks a little yellow, the carbon tied up some nitrogen, guys, and no weeds. The no cover weeds, greener, because there's no nitrogen tie up from the carbon. And it did hurt me some because I fertilized 170 pounds of N into wheat stubble. That should give you about 170 bushel corn, pound per bushel in wheat stubble, high carbon stubble. I had more carbon there. Well, in a good year, 166 with the cover, 175 with the good cover, 179. A year like that pays for the cover. 2012, a drought year, the cover didn't hurt me. The year after the drought, cover helped a little bit. 2014, I won't mention it. 2015, look at the yields. 197, 202, 214. We had a lot of rain. 15, extra nitrogen growing from that soybeans and the wheat stubble paid. 2016, we cut our nitrogen rate. The carbon hurt me, but the nitrogen cover helped me. 170 pounds, we put on 16, and 15, we put on 170 pounds. Why the difference? I don't know. This year we put on 200 pounds. I don't want to get caught again. But again, a lot of people say, I can't grow the cover, I don't have the water. They let weeds grow, they're using water, they go to seed. They remove residue, there's bales of that. I hear a lot of people who say, I can't do cover, and they do everything else contrary to soil health, soil quality.